GM. GM, GM. GM, GM. GM, GM. So, today is Friday the 12th of January. Let's talk about daily levels. And let's see what we've got here. Right. What I'm thinking is, first of all, this. Okay. I think sometime around the Super Bowl that I talked about. You got Chinese New Year on the Saturday the 10th. You got the Super Bowl Sunday the 11th. This is how I'm looking at it. Chinese New Year. And Chinese New Year is a genuine bullish catalyst. In a positive year, the markets tend to perform really well around the Chinese New Year, as I guess Chinese investors are bullish. They're they're big on luck, the zodiac and all of that. The big believers in these lucky symbols and signs, and it's the year of the dragon and blah blah blah. So here's roughly what I think is happening. Price doesn't matter on this. I'm not saying where price will go. I'm going to talk more about sentiment. And I think that the sentiment at some point between now and the Super Bowl and the Chinese New Year is that it's over, right? And then going into that period, we have a belief that it's back. And I think that that might actually be the sweep of the highs before we go into proper distribution and then lower. And then we reaccumulate and go higher or whatever. I don't know, and in fact, I probably shouldn't even include this part because I don't have any conviction on that at all. The part I think will happen is that it has been sell the news. People don't admit that yet. They will admit it when it's at the bottom, and then they will get bullish again at the top. This is just how I'm seeing it. Like I said in trading analysis, think top's in. I'm explaining why. I'm not selling any of my Bitcoin. This is not reason to panic. This does not mean it's all over. But I do think it's over for a while. And the plan for me is, I just think at the moment, I think people are in denial that this is it. I think they're in denial that this ETF launch was not, in fact, as bullish as people think. I'm confident in saying that now because of things I've seen. So, one, BlackRock did $1 billion of volume, but only 120 million in assets. So there was only actually 120 million of Bitcoin accumulated. $120 million worth out of $1 billion. That's quite underwhelming. For $1 billion of volume, people probably would have been expecting that the actual total AUM at the end of the day would be higher. So that means that a lot of the volume was just trading, like back and forth, or not net buying. That's all that matters. And second day is never going to be bigger than the first day, so it's impossible for things to get better today, just in terms of the volume and flows. Understand, I'm not saying that the price of Bitcoin is going to go up or down, but I'm saying that the ETF flows and the hype and the volume, it can't get bigger. You don't get bigger than the first day, because you just, even if it's only one day removed, you lose some attention, right? Now, that's one thing. That's BlackRock. So, reasons. BlackRock ETF was, let's call it okay, but not meeting elevated expectations. This is really important, and I want everyone to understand what I'm talking about here. When I talk about this, it's about not meeting elevated expectations. you have to understand that the market's expectation changes every day, every week. So a while ago, we had no expectation of bullish prices. Now, only a few weeks ago. Bitcoin was at 25k 12 weeks ago. And so why were people not so bullish then? Why was the price at 25k even though BlackRock had already applied? Right? Why were people not bullish? Because they were short term, and this is how the market is. It's very short term minded, and they were fearful for other reasons, whatever. And then it's only with price going up, so it went from 25 to basically 50, 49, that then gets people bullish. But all along the way, I remember saying very clearly, if we got to, getting to 48 was always a big stretch target for me. When we were at 25, 38 looked good. 38 was my first, 34.9 with the pivot. If we got above that, 38. If we got above that, 40. All of those looked like decent levels. We then exceeded all that, got to 49. And there's always reasons. There's always reasons at the top for why it has to go higher. But your only job as a trader is to not fall for that. So, I think you have to be able to, one of the most important things in trading is to be able to remember how you used to feel. The market will make you change your feelings. But I was very consistent all year with my belief, obviously, that we're bullish. In September, I didn't think we'd make a new high in 2023. I thought that was the high for the year. I was wrong on that. We made a new high. But because I'm not an idiot, I wasn't naked shorting the market or calling for 12k. I was still long Bitcoin, and so I'm long a cash and everything like that. And even though I was wrong about that no new high in 2023, guess what? I made more money than I ever have in a pre-halving year. And I outperformed Bitcoin by the fact that I'm holding a cash plus trading around it. That's something I wouldn't have done in my first cycle. And I did in my second cycle a bit. Much better. And this cycle I plan to absolutely crush it and do everything right. Now that doesn't mean make money. It does mean make the right decisions at the right times. Trading is a game of decision making. That's all it is. It's your decisions that will decide your outcomes. You have to remember your original decisions. So I stayed long all year, apart from a hedge short I did in June, which I then closed in September or October or whatever. No, did it in August, sorry. Hedge short in August on the Grayscale fake pump. And then closed it just before we broke out above 30k. But that was a hedge. Fully long Bitcoin, shorted the same amount. That's not a short exposure. That's just going neutral. And the reason I did that, the reason I stayed fully long all year with very little, with no wavering really, is because I know that in the past, when I've traded my opinions, I've both been wrong and lost money. It's important. It's a bull market. Last year was a bull market by the end of it, everyone agreed. But even during it, I said it was the bottom's in, it's an echo bubble at worst, and it's a new bull market at best. Regardless, the path for 2023 was up some amount. And you only have to look at something as simple as the 4-year cycle theory to understand that. 2023 was never going to be a bearish year. At worst, it was going to be a sideways year. Because that's just how the pre-halving year goes. And people who were like, fade the 4-year cycle. I was like, well, why would you fade something that's always worked, until it breaks. You don't. Like, I'm the first person to say I don't believe the halving has that big of an effect going forward. But I'm not going to discount the halving theory until it's disproven. That's just basic logic. Something that's happened 100% of the time, don't fade it until it stops working. So, staying long the whole way. Being bullish all the way up. Having ideas in mind of price targets and them getting met and exceeded. All of that, all those checks in all those boxes. My main plan was to significantly de-risk whenever the Bitcoin ETF ended, because that was the primary narrative. So you can go back and listen to my no new narrative is stronger. This is what the market's doing right now. The market wants you to believe that the ETH ETF matters, that restaking matters, that insert fucking narrative here. Layer 2s matter. Solana ecosystem matters. Big airdrops coming, that they matter. NFTs are going to come back. Gaming. And this is why, by the way, guys, and this is the number one mistake I made before in my first cycle, going into my second one. This doesn't mean the top's in for all these shitcoins. They're going to pump. That's how it works. They pump later and pump last because they need the idiots to think that the party's still going. The smart money needs dumb money to think that the casino's still open. So this stuff will pump. Gaming will pump randomly. Layer 2s will pump randomly. Ethereum will go on a run. Solana will have a bit of a resurgence. But I think the chances, the odds, the probabilities for the all-time high runs in Q1 are gone. 100% gone, done. No chance of it, in my opinion. And that's something that I was toying with the idea 2 or 3 weeks ago that Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana could all run towards all-time highs before, basically in Q1 and have a real early aggressive run. I don't think that's the case anymore. Again, it doesn't mean I'm right. That's always important to know. It doesn't mean I'm right. Could be totally wrong. But what I'm seeing here is Bitcoin leads the market and Bitcoin has signaled what's happening. And the Bitcoin top has been signaled by mostly a couple of things. You got Grayscale, ETF, and you've got CBOE, margin futures. So we'll talk about Grayscale first. This one is a little bit, this might be a bit complex if you don't really understand the market. So I recommend that you go and research who Grayscale are and what GBTC is. Right? Grayscale are a subsidiary of Digital Currency Group, DCG, who are ran by a guy called Barry Silbert, who's a literal fucking con man. Let's just put that there, because you should never trust con men. I think that's pretty obvious. So even though he stepped down and Grayscale are separate and Grayscale technically don't, he's not in control, the parent group is run by a fucking criminal, like a con man, a literal con man. This is not even in dispute. It's only a matter of time. He's being actively sued, criminally, I believe, as well as civil, by US law enforcement. He's extremely good at what he does. He's a former bankruptcy lawyer, so he can wriggle his way through all these proceedings. But that's not the point. The point is, this guy's sketchy, right? And he's not a crypto native. He's a TradFi guy that came into crypto quite early. Right? So he was earlier than most, yes, but he's not a crypto maxi. He's a TradFi guy who saw an opportunity to make loads of money in crypto before other people. And so he started Grayscale, and they have all the trusts. GBTC, they've got an ETH one, they've got a bunch of other ones, right? Chainlink, Ethereum Classic, Bitcoin Cash, they've got a bunch of them. And they were the way, Grayscale are the way for boomers and TradFi to get exposure to crypto, because you can buy their shares on the open market. It's not an ETF, it's a trust, it's different. And the main one that matters is their Bitcoin trust, GBTC. And so Grayscale holds loads of Bitcoin, 600,000. And for years, that was trading at a discount.